everybody, welcome to the Ambitious Woman Lifestyle Podcast. We are your hosts, Mignon Padilla
and Paige Walthall.
And on today's episode, we'll be discussing how to stop waiting for permission. Let's dive in.
I feel like I need to ask questions because I'm not where you are. I'm trying to get to where you are. Mm-hmm. So me having a better understanding of how you process things or how you felt like things were revealed to you will help me process.
I understand.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I got this download the other day about how when we're in school, it's ingrained in us from a young age to raise our hands and wait to be noticed. Then we ask for permission before we do anything. So as children and as teenagers, it teaches us the valuable lesson of respecting authority. But what happens when we become adults out in the real world with this habit still ingrained in us is that we no longer physically raise our hands, but we replace it with validation seeking from family and friends. Now, see, the problem with this is that when we wait for permission, we not only hinder our own lives, but we allow other people to do the same. So let me explain. Okay, so say your teacher asked the whole class a question. Now you immediately knew the answer, so your hand shoots up eagerly. Now, here's the dilemma. You're not the only one who raised your hand. And depending on the teacher, and let's be real, whether or not you have a good rapport with them, were you a good student or you're a problem student? Did y'all butt heads or whatever? Whether or not you have this rapport with them, there is a chance they may not pick you. They may choose somebody else and that person may give the wrong answer. And instead of them choosing to ask other people, they just go on with the lesson. And there you are sitting there with the answer somebody needs. But because you wasn't chosen, you can't give the answer. So say what happens when you do this constantly. You constantly raising your hand, but because this person has a problem with you, this person, they basing your past behaviors on what you are now, and they can't see you for who you really are now, so they hold it against you, and you keep getting looked over, passed by, ignored because of whatever reason. You will eventually stop raising your hand. This doesn't change the fact that you still have the answers. You still know what to do, but you're so tired of not being chosen, you give up. You hold on to what someone else needs because you're too afraid to speak out because you're taught that there's consequences if you blurt out. If you go against what the system set up. So we sit there, we quiet, and like I said, we walk through life like whatever.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And then you no longer seek purpose because nobody's validating you. You're still around the same people telling you no. But here's the thing with that. Those same people ain't doing nothing either.
Iron sharpens iron.
Right. So if nobody's sharpening you and you both dull, you're not effective. If you're hanging around the same people doing the same things all the time, how are you being sharpened? Because they're dull, you're dull. Nobody's purpose seeking. Nobody's trying to be effective. Nobody's trying to, provoke change or do anything. So now we just live in this life of dullness, of mediocrity, when we were all called to greater. He said, I came that you may have life and life more abundantly. He didn't say life mediocrity. He didn't say that.
So what do you feel like you did or helped you to stop seeking validation?
I had to get away from certain people and certain thinking because I was putting people on pedestals that shouldn't have been there. And God had me step back away from the people. That's how he did it with me. In the beginning, it was family. Like literally anybody that was authority to me. So that like aunties, uncles, grandmas, those were the authority figures in my life. So if they was to speak about something that I did in a negative way, I would stop doing it. So I dropped out of interior design school because back then I was insecure in myself and I was insecure in anything I did. and I didn't know what my purpose was. So when somebody said something, well, you should go to school for this instead of that, I dropped out. When somebody told me, when I went to business school, and they told me, well, you got all these kids, you need to take care of these kids and not worry about that, I dropped out because I wasn't secure in who I was, and because they were the authority figure, I thought they knew better than I did. And also I wasn't seeking God in advice and any of these. I didn't know him like that. So they were my God, small g, in a sense. So when I got older and I started developing a relationship with God, I started hearing his voice more, and learning how to hear his voice more, and he was speaking to me more, and I was writing more of what I felt the Holy Spirit was telling me, and then I was seeing it come to pass, and this and that. So I got familiar with who God was in my life and how to figure out what he was saying to me versus what somebody else was saying. Here's how I knew. One, if it lined up with his word. Two, if it had confirmation to it. So back then, I needed maybe 2 confirmations. Now they just come quick. So it's like, okay, I know that was God.
Do you feel like you still are in a place where you ask permission, not like subconsciously? Like, do you ever catch yourself being like, oh, I don't need to do that?
The only person that I find myself asking permission to is Jose, which is a good thing because he is the head, and I should always run things like big decisions across with him because we're in this thing together. So whatever I do affects him, and whatever he does affects me. But in that, sometimes Jose acts from a place of fear because I'm the risk taker. I'm the one like, oh, let's do it. Let's do it now. Let's do it quick. And I can figure it out as we go. And he like, hold on. Let's sit. Let me process. Let me think for 3 weeks. And then I'll get back to you. And then I'm like, but I already figured it out while you was sitting there. I promise it can happen. It can go. It can do it. No, I need the process, and I'm probably not going to agree. That he is the only one that I do that with, and sometimes I feel like we're moving in slow motion because I give him that power.
I was getting ready to ask. Because, okay, so I understand the aspect of you saying, like, you having to, because that's your husband, he's the head. Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. But do you ever feel like you encountered a situation where God told you to do something and you went and asked Jose permission, not necessarily, even though you might not have needed it?
Yes. When we first started, I had it twisted. My whole thing was he's the head. So I needed to shrink back and let him be the head. I had all these desires to do all these different things, and I knew God put them in my heart to do them. But because in my mind, I'm thinking because he's the head, because he is the lead, he was supposed to step out first. He was supposed to go and do. But the problem with that is that's not his personality. Yes, he is the head. Yes, he is the lead. I had to understand the difference between me and him, my role in his life and his role in my life. Just because my husband is the lead does not mean that I can't go ahead. We're still walking this thing together. We're still doing this thing together. It's not like I'm taking his spot, I'm taking his place. But because God made me more assertive than he is, because he's more laid back, he's more calm, and the dynamic in that is how our marriage works. Now, when it's time for him to step up, he'll step up. But in the beginning, my perspective was skewed to think that he was supposed to be out front. But that's not necessarily what makes a leader. A leader does not always have to be out front. And the head does not always have to be seen.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
You will see me more. I'm the face, but he's behind the scenes. So in the beginning, I was stagnant because I felt that he was supposed to be the face. He was the one that was supposed to. So I didn't move. I didn't do anything. Even though God was telling me, go, go, go. I was like, but you said he was the head. You said that he was supposed to lead. You said like all those different things. And what was it that got me out of that? I had a dream. And in the dream, we were in a house, and the house was cluttered with a whole bunch of stuff. And it was just like a junk just piled up everywhere. And then there was this staircase. Because I was like, oh, Jose, what's that over there? And I saw it. And so I was like, let's go over there. Let's see what's over there. He's still looking through the mess. Actually, he was looking around like he was tired of seeing the mess, and we didn't know what to do with it. But I saw the stairs. I was like, let's go up there. Let's see what that is. So we went up the stairs. I went up first, and then he came up behind me. And when we got to the top, it was clean. It was fresh. It was like newly painted. It was beautiful. It had a fireplace, and it was just ready for us to make it beautiful. And I was like, ooh, I love it up here. I love it up here. And he turned around, and when he turned around, the stairs disappeared. And so we couldn't go back down. I woke up and I was like, God, what was that all about? And he says, I'm taking you to another level, and you need to let go of that stuff that you're holding on to. You need to leave that back down there. But I'm sending you up first. And he's then is going to follow. And then he is going. Because after we got up there and he turned around and it disappeared, he just went on ahead and started looking through the house, the rest of the house. And I'm standing there looking like, well, what the heck happened to the stairs? And he went exploring. So what God told me in that was that, yes, I'm going to go up there first. I'm going first. He's going to come after me, but then he's going to get into position and go and lead. And that's literally what happened.
God is awesome.
Yes, he is.
So at what point, where you are, do you feel like you finally were like, okay, I'm done asking for permission? Like, was there a specific what is it called, circumstance or situation that made you be like, okay, I have to stop doing this? Or like, what was it?
Discontentment. God gave me stuff to say, and it was like boiling on the inside of me. And it was like, this was during the pandemic, so I was studying and I was spending more time with God, and I was trying to figure out. That is when it was like, okay, God, you gave me all this stuff. You said do this. Now I'm about to jump out here. Boop. You gonna have to catch me. Faith over fear. I'm like, okay, so I'm about to trust you with every step of my life. This is what you said. This is what I'm about to do. And the wonderful thing about God is when you step out, when you do what he said do, you're always in his hands. He always holding your hand. You're walking with him, and he's leading you on a path in which you should go. And once you really get that good relationship with him, I could discern what is from him versus what is not.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us some feedback by rating and leaving a review. Follow us on Instagram at Ambitious Woman Lifestyle, and we'll catch you next week.